Leeds Minster for this annual lecture. Welcome back if you are familiar with these occasions. Particular welcome if this is the first time that you've been here for a Hook lecture. My name is Paul Maybury and I'm currently rector of this parish with this parish church, Leeds Minster, and it's a great privilege to serve the city from here. It's also a privilege for me to be chair of the Council of Leeds Church Institute, and so tonight is a collaboration between the Minster, the Church Institute and the University. Every year we hold these Hook lectures, stimulating debate around an issue of faith within the context of this wonderful, diverse and dynamic city. This lecture brings together faith communities, the university and the city by addressing themes related to public life and to the common good. The event is organised jointly, as I say, between the Church Institute, the Methodist and the School of Philosophy, Religion and History of Science at the University of Leeds. Earlier this year, Leeds City Council was awarded the so-called Council of Sanctuary status. Schools have been awarded Schools of Sanctuary. The University of Leeds and Leeds Trinity University are working towards becoming awarded as Universities of Sanctuary. This lecture this evening will focus on city, academy and faith responses to asylum seekers and refugees, and encourage churches to begin the process of becoming churches of sanctuary. And we're really pleased to welcome Inderjit Bhogal, former president of the British Methodist Conference, founder of the City of Sanctuary Network and Movement, passionately committed to the achievement of justice in immigration, especially for people seeking sanctuary and refugees. Inderjit is no stranger to this city. He's a friend of many in the room tonight. He works with churches together in Britain and Ireland to develop and promote the Church of Sanctuary idea and to coordinate the network associated with that. He's a former leader of the Corrymeela community in Northern Ireland, recipient of the World Methodist Peace Award, and in 2005 was awarded the OBE for his interfaith work. Between 2005 and 2011, he was director of the Yorkshire and Humber's Faith Forum and worked closely in that time with the Leeds Church Institute, and his book, Hospitality and Sanctuary, grew out of a resource he prepared for the Church Institute, and you can buy that book on the table at the back afterwards if you like. So, Inderjit is going to speak to us for about 40 minutes, I believe. And then there'll be an opportunity for question and answer session, which Helen Reid, director of the Church Institute, will coordinate. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Inderjit.
Thank you for the welcome. I greet you all in the name of Christ and wish upon you the peace and blessings of God. And could have our first slide on, just in case you don't know my It is a real honour and a pleasure and a privilege to be here and to share with you all in this book lecture. Maybe before we start, high fives, everyone, just greet your neighbour. Okay. I'm here through my links with the Leeds City of Sanctuary Group, and also the Leeds Church Institute. But I also have links with particularly Leeds University, going back through the now retired Professor Kim Knott and Mel. You were part of all our links then, around 15 years ago, when Kim was Professor of Religious Studies in Leeds University. I linked with LCI, the Leeds Church Institute, and Leeds University, and all the regional government, so-called third sector and faith organisations in Leeds and the surrounding areas when I worked as the director of the Yorkshire and Humber Faiths Forum. If you could have the next slide there. When I was working here, this included working with Yorkshire Futures and their research into refugees and asylum seekers and migrants in Yorkshire and Humber, and helped to produce this, published in December 2008, with recommendations on regional strategy under the title of Housing, Health, Employment, Children and Young People, Adult Education, Safety, Integration, Cohesion, and Research around refugees and asylum seekers. And the next slide shows you another piece of work I was involved in with the Yorkshire and Humber Regional Migration Partnership and their work on finding sanctuary, enriching Yorkshire and Humber, integration strategy for refugees and asylum seekers in Yorkshire and Humber. And within all this, I tried to make sure that the voice of faith communities was loud and clear and valued, and frequently gave presentations at conferences. During that time, I joined many meetings here in Leeds Minster. I love this place and found myself sitting here for quiet prayer, and also, of course, the Leeds Church Institute. My work of initiating City of Sanctuary, which began as a faith-based project, was conducted in this context. The Yorkshire and Humber Faiths Forum, the Regional Churches Commission, and LCI were all involved and were a great strength to me. The very first draft of my book, Hospitality and Sanctuary for All, was written at the invitation of Leeds Church Institute by Margaret Holmes, who's here this evening. Good to see you. I was asked to provide a resource to engage churches in working with refugees. And the book is the result of that, and this lecture takes us to another level of my engagement with LCI. I want LCI to work closely with the Church of Sanctuary Network. Leeds City of Sanctuary has been a vital component in the City of Sanctuary Network and movement, and I record my thanks to all in the Leeds City of Sanctuary group for your commitment and passion, and for all that you do to welcome and include people seeking sanctuary who are coming into your area. My deepest respect to you and gratitude. Please be assured of my complete solidarity. I'm aware that within Leeds City of Sanctuary there are, of course, many schools of sanctuary, and also that all the universities in Leeds are working towards the University of Sanctuary status. I think working together is such a good model, and it is at the heart of what City of Sanctuary has attempted to do. And with Leeds University, I think it's in keeping with the work of Esther Simpson, for example, who assisted hundreds of refugee academics during and after World War II. The concept of universities of sanctuary adds to and builds on the wider City of Sanctuary network and movement, and the challenge to build cultures of welcome and hospitality and sanctuary. And you can help to provide understanding, compassionate and safe experience that would enable people seeking sanctuary to thrive and to recognise their potential. And this is so important at our time of such hardline policies and hostile conditions to people seeking sanctuary and all those who support them. Leeds is a wonderful, multicultural, multi-ethnic city, and you have such a huge number of international students here, and the city has great opportunities to work with City of Sanctuary to really build and showcase cultures of welcome, hospitality, inclusion and safety for all. Working together to build sanctuary is at the heart of the City of Sanctuary vision. And thank you, Helen Reid, for liaising with me to finalise the arrangements for our event tonight. Always good to work with you, and thank you very much for your very kind hospitality. Lovely meal. And if Arash, our chef, is still in the room, it was great. Thank you very much. Very tasty food. We enjoyed it. I'm currently working, as you've said, with churches together in Britain and Ireland to develop and promote the idea of Church of Sanctuary. I try to keep in the background of City of Sanctuary these days. Church of Sanctuary is my passion and contribution to City of Sanctuary now. And the work is the focus of this book, Hospitality and Sanctuary for All. You can get a copy. It's not actually for sale. You can leave a donation and you can get a copy here this evening. This rope I'm wearing around my neck and a cross I have with me on the next screen, you can see it, and a sock which I've got. I picked these items from an abandoned refugee boat which had caught fire and capsized in the Mediterranean 10 years ago on the 3rd of October 2013. You may recall that. At least 368 people on the boat drowned. I visited Lampedusa. The small island has an area in the harbour called the Boat Cemetery, and there are dozens of capsized refugee boats which are just abandoned there. I boarded one of these and took these items from it. The wood I took shows marks of a fire, and from it I have made this cross. The rope I now use as my stole. I've put away all my other gorgeous stoles away, and this is the one I will wear as long as we are in the world as it is. And this sock. Whose sock is this? Who was wearing that? It's got the word sport written on it. It appears to be a sock that belongs to a young person. Perhaps the word sport holds the aspiration and the dreams of its owner. If this rope and this cross, this wood and this sock could speak, what stories would they tell us of those who were on the boat? I have another image to show you, the next slide. I wonder what you can see on that. I hope you can see it. This is a drawing by an artist in Lampedusa. His name is Francesco Piervici. Francesco works with a project called Mediterranean Hope, offering support to refugees rescued on Lampedusa. He draws what he sees rather than take pictures, and the image shows actually a mother and a child in the water. This nameless mother drowned, and she gave birth to her child as she drowned. And those who lifted the mother out of the sea discovered also the child still attached to her mother by the umbilical cord. And the mother and child are buried in Lampedusa. And Francesca says, this is what's going on around us, and it's still going on. And this mother and child are to me like the Holy Family at the centre of the Christmas story that will adorn many a Christmas card. You will get cards with images like that. And the Holy Family, shortly after Jesus was born, had to flee from danger and take their child for protection into Egypt. I wonder what kind of reception Mary and Joseph and Jesus would have if they were to arrive as refugees in Britain, crossing the channel on a small boat. Well, I'm a storyteller. You know all the facts, but here you have them on the screen from the United Nations High Commission on Refugees. I try to show constructive ways to engage with refugees and people seeking sanctuary and to promote the development of the City of Sanctuary movement in which we can all have a voice and play a part. And you can do this by engaging with sanctuary initiatives close to you and by really challenging individuals and whichever organisations you work with to link up with the City of Sanctuary network and movement, be they schools, universities, churches, businesses, and so on. A movement is built on the strength of working together around a common idea. I would like to see every university becoming a university of sanctuary, every church becoming a church of sanctuary, every mosque, every gurdwara, every vihara, every mandir, every synagogue becoming a place of sanctuary, every school becoming a school of sanctuary, and so on. A third of our universities now are universities of sanctuary. There are hundreds of schools of sanctuary, and there are libraries, theatres, maternity wards, gardens of sanctuary. What about churches of sanctuary? I struggle the most with getting churches to engage with the issues. Every church in Leeds should be a church of sanctuary. And we can really work together to build a church of sanctuary movement now. A movement, as I said, is composed of shared enterprise and collective action in which people work together for justice and the fullness of life. The lead is taken by people at the local level who act for social change, and that's you and me. So we're not waiting for other people to take the initiative. It's in our hands. We can see it, for example, in terms of movements in the 19th and early 20th century with suffragettes fighting for political rights for women in the UK, and in the mid-20th century, civil rights movement in the USA, the struggle for freedom and independence in the movement for that in India, and of course in the contemporary movements around climate change and the movements for racial justice. So we can imagine a church of sanctuary movement around many local church members and congregations wanting to extend and express hospitality and sanctuary to people suffering the vileness of hatred and hostility. Any organisation, such as a university or school or church of sanctuary, shares in this work by doing all that is possible to do these three things. So the next slide shows you the three essential criteria to get to a sanctuary recognition. The number one thing always is that it's about learning. It is an educational task. Learning about what it means to be seeking sanctuary and to be actively involved in awareness raising. Learn the facts. There's so many myths and fiction around. Live by facts, not fiction. So that's our number one task, and it is important to engage all those who can help us in our education and learning. And the second thing is to embed a culture of welcome in your whole organisation. Take positive action to make welcome, hospitality and inclusion part of your values, of the values of your community, your organisation, to support those seeking sanctuary and refuge, to include them in your activities, and to value the gifts and the contribution that they make. Really, really embed this throughout your organisation. What that means for me is that you don't leave it to one or two people who are passionate about this. Don't leave it to the vicar or the staff. Get everyone involved. Congregation, students, members. And then, not forgetting then to share with pride your vision, your achievement, what you're doing. We don't do this below the radar. We do it with pride, loud and proud. Let others know about the positive contribution refugees make to society and the benefits of a welcoming culture for everyone. So, what does it mean to become a church of sanctuary? The concept of sanctuary is rooted in the Bible. Sanctuary, or hospitality with safety, protective hospitality, is a long-standing prophetic theme in Hebrew and Christian scriptures, the foundation of which lies in the law books of the Hebrew scriptures and which is echoed in the teaching of Jesus about how we are to treat our neighbour, the outsider. God it was who actually instructed Moses to set up cities of refuge. And these are cities where people whose lives are in danger could resort to find safety. And in this wisdom is the root of the contemporary City of Sanctuary network. The Hebrew scriptures refer only once to love your neighbour as yourself. Leviticus 19 verse 18. But around 40 times it says also that you shall also love the stranger. That's the most repeated ethical requirement in the Bible, to love the stranger as yourself. Jesus didn't quote that verse, but he said, when you welcome me, when you welcome the stranger, you welcome me. And whoever welcomes me, welcomes the one who sent me. So that's what it's about. Church is called to welcome the stranger, to include those who feel most on the outside. And Church of Sanctuary follows from this call. It is a call to prophetic Christian witness, an expression of hospitality as a clear challenge to hostility. There is so much about hostility. What message do we speak into that? I say we challenge hostility with hospitality. We need sanctuary churches that will now meet and greet new arrivals fleeing war and hunger. Church of Sanctuary is a commitment to ensure congregations go out of their way intentionally to ensure asylum seekers, refugees, and other isolated and vulnerable people are kept socially connected and have access to support and protection. So make your place of worship a sanctuary where all are treated with warm welcome, generous hospitality, and protection from harm. All churches take pride in being welcoming. But many churches are going beyond welcome and are engaged positively with supporting refugees and people seeking sanctuary. Earlier this year, in March, I found myself in Brighton and Hove to give certificates to 5 Methodist churches which had become churches of sanctuary. There were 5 in their circuit, and the whole circuit received a circuit of sanctuary recognition. Truly inspirational work. beside those white cliffs of the south, a great model and inspiration for other churches and faith centres. And that work at the local level shows that the guiding principles of welcome, hospitality, safety and compassion are compelling and bringing people of different faiths and those who profess no particular religious faith to work together to support refugees and people seeking sanctuary. So being a church of sanctuary, it connects you to the Church of Sanctuary network and the wider City of Sanctuary movement. And it takes you on a journey of collaboration where you know you are part of a movement that is endorsed by a wide range of people. For me, a good Christian symbol of what I'm talking about is Holy Communion, a revelation of the world is as it is meant to be, as well as a foretaste of the heavenly banquet, where all are welcome and valued equally, and where no one is excluded or made to feel like an outsider, a true sign of the kingdom of God. So I want to place the Church of Sanctuary image, vision, within the context of the City of Sanctuary movement, which itself is a movement within a movement around many people working in many ways with people seeking sanctuary. So let me briefly tell you the story of City of Sanctuary. City of Sanctuary was founded in October 2005, and 2 years after we started the work, Sheffield became UK's first City of Sanctuary. By June this year, there were over 120 cities, towns, boroughs, areas, places in Britain and Ireland working with the City of Sanctuary vision to build cultures of welcome and hospitality and safety. The origins of City of Sanctuary are quite modest. It emerged from an initiative I took actually while I was working here in Leeds with the Yorkshire and Humble Faith Forum. I didn't imagine that a simple idea would spread so much beyond Sheffield. I've lived in Sheffield since 1987, and from my earliest days in the city, in my work as a Methodist minister, I've been associated with the key organisations working with refugees in the city, and I've supported their work. In conversation with others working in this context, it became clear to me that if they all worked together and formed a network, their contribution to working with refugees would be even greater. So in October 2005, with a colleague, Craig Barnett, we convened a meeting which led to the launch of the City of Sanctuary initiative. The meeting, held in Sheffield, was attended by around 40 people, representatives of organisations working with refugees in the city. At the meeting, we invited representatives of all the organisations to talk about the work they were doing briefly, applauding their work, and all the participants then agreed that if we all collaborated and shared our vision, we could have a bigger impact on our city and work towards building a culture of welcome and hospitality and safety, especially for asylum seekers and refugees. It was also agreed that if all the initial participants, organisations, were to sign a pledge of support and then to go out and get other organisations to join with us in this enterprise, then we could go to our local authority and say, look at all these organisations who want to work in a city like this, how are you going to support us? And if they said they would, would become a city of sanctuary. There would be a strong case to be declared a city of sanctuary. So we are a target. 2005, we said by 2015 we should become a city of sanctuary. The idea was to encourage a new and collaborative approach to working with refugees and to link local refugee organisations under a common purpose and image of sanctuary. And the numbers of those who supported this idea grew rapidly. And in only 2 years, rather than the 10 years we thought, Sheffield was declared a city of sanctuary. Very quickly, people in other cities started to ask me how this all happened, and I was overwhelmed with invitations to speak. It was utterly impossible, so I produced a little book, Becoming a City of Sanctuary. I could do it. So Craig and I put together our little talks into this book, and it just utterly sold out. We had several editions, and we were amazed at how popular it was. Well, on World Refugee Day, 18th of June 2007, the Lord Mayor of Sheffield stood on the steps of the City Town Hall and said, Sheffield is a city of sanctuary. What this meant was that the City Council had just passed a resolution to support the many organisations who had signed the pledge to work together to build a culture of welcome and hospitality in the city. So that was the end of the process, but a marker that we reached a certain point where many people and organisations in the city were working together towards a common purpose with a common vision for the city, a city of welcome and hospitality that we would be proud to live in. When Craig Barnett and I imagined this vision in 2005, we were simply trying to get people in our city to work together. We had no plan for City of Sanctuary to grow in the way it has. The next slide shows you the logo. That's a high fives. That's what I was doing when I got you to do that. That's what it is. That's the logo we created. It shows sanctuary, the shelter that is more than buildings. It's about people giving shelter to people. It's about sheltering community, finding sanctuary in each other, the sanctuary of friendship and warmth. The next slide, I found these words on a wall in Belfast City Hall. It's a Celtic proverb. It is in the shelter of each other that the people live. It just utterly sums up what that logo is about. It's about protecting each other, sheltering community. That's really what a church of sanctuary is. It's not so much about the building, it's the congregation, the community of sanctuary. While world governments struggle to find humanitarian responses to the current refugee numbers, the welcome, generosity and hospitality reflected in grassroots initiatives like the City of Sanctuary movement offers hope and offers a way ahead in which people at the local level can engage. So why am I bothered about all this? Where is my engagement come from? Where does my passion come from? Well, my own parents left their home in Punjab in India as teenagers just after they married, soon after independence in India and the partition in 1947. A situation that led to one of the biggest mass movements of people, 12 million people going in opposite directions. It was a movement that sadly witnessed much violence and bloodshed. Though they never spoke about it, I have no doubt that my parents, young teenagers, will have witnessed atrocity and they will have been traumatized by it. And their parents will have said to them, get out of here, go and find somewhere safe. And they went to Africa, they went to Kenya. I was born in Nairobi, where I lived up to the age of 11. And then when Kenya became independent in 1963-64, with my parents and my family, we had to get up and go. And via a 9-month sojourn in what was then Tanganyika, Tanzania, every 2 weeks we moved to a different house, and then we came here. By the time they were 30, my parents had left their home twice as a result of political decisions of nations. Well, my first home in this country was in Dudley in the West Midlands. My real claim to fame is I went to school, the same school as Lenny Henry. We both left school without any qualification whatsoever, but he's the light of the realm now and, seriously engaged in higher education. And here I am, and we've both made our contribution in one way or another. From my earliest days of life in the UK, people of Asian backgrounds came to see me because I could speak English fluently, and they talked to me about their immigration concerns and brought to me their papers so that I could fill in the relevant documents. So personally, rather than professionally, I've become familiar with immigration matters, policies and procedures. I am familiar with the fears, frustrations and pains of people of all backgrounds around decisions to leave home, forced ways to leave home, and I have determined in my own way to take simple steps to seek justice, mercy and humility in policy and procedure. So my theological reflection and theology is rooted in my experience of immigration. The language I use has arisen from my faith, including stories recorded in Scripture. Words like walking, wilderness, exile, refuge, sanctuary, prayer, and pilgrimage are deeply spiritual terms and full of meaning. As a Methodist minister, as a pastor, I have worked with others, especially in churches, to critique and challenge policy and procedure where it has been unjust and discriminatory. In March 1997, I walked from Sheffield, where I live, to number 10 Downing Street, taking a month, with a letter to the Prime Minister asking that asylum seekers who are not criminals are not detained in conventional prisons alongside convicted prisoners, and ask for a fair appeal for asylum seekers. And then when I was president of the Methodist Conference in the year 2000, I visited all the detention centres in Britain and Northern Ireland, and then wrote a report entitled Unlocking the Doors, which I wrote specifically for churches actually, but also for the Home Office. In October 2005, I called that meeting with Craig to launch the City of Sanctuary initiative, and Sheffield became UK's first City of Sanctuary. So why are we doing this? Why is this important? 80 years ago, around 10,000 children were rescued from Nazi Germany and given sanctuary in Britain. We applaud that. Today, there are around 10,000 unaccompanied refugee children in Britain. Many have arrived here using dangerous methods and routes, and we deplore this. 90% of these children have had to come to the UK illegally because there is no rescue and no safe passage for them. The UK Borders and Nationality Bill of 2021 and the Illegal Migration Act of 2023 is a monstrous response to a human catastrophe. You cannot fix a broken system with a broken thread. The hostile environment, which is part of the British Home Office strategy, includes the vilification of refugees crossing the English Channel in small boats and the threat to detain and deport illegal migrants or to send them to Rwanda. That's where we are. That most asylum seekers coming to the UK in unseaworthy vessels across the terrifying waters of the busy English Channel route are illegal immigrants or economic migrants and unworthy of sanctuary here is a fallacy. This has been exposed only this month in a report by the Refugee Council published on the 1st of October 2023. It's called The Truth About Channel Crossing and the Impact of the Illegal Migration Act. The report analyses Home Office statistics on channel crossing and has found that 74% of arrivals in the UK would be recognised as genuine asylum seekers, people who have actually fled persecution and terror and oppression. Most of the people, therefore, crossing the English Channel are refugees. That's not the message that comes across, is it? According to the report, more than half of those people, more than half of those arrivals across the Channel are from Afghanistan, Iran, Eritrea, Syria, and Sudan, all countries in conflict. Underlining and reminding us of the fact that 90% almost of all refugees are from countries in or close to conflict. The Home Secretary's language of crisis and invasion and hurricane misrepresents the reality and is unhelpful in the context and only helps to ramp up and legitimize hatred and hate speech. Deliberate dehumanizing and demonizing of refugees in the interest of political purposes, short-term publicity and point scoring may be hollow rhetoric, but it is actually extremely dangerous and it deepens hatred. Stop the boats is the political mantra now, designed to further the hostile environment as a deterrent to refugees coming to the UK. The criminal activity of traffickers exploiting vulnerable people can actually be stopped by stopping wars. If 90% of those who are refugees are from countries in conflict, let's look at stopping the wars. Stop the killing. And then provide safe and legal routes for refugees seeking sanctuary. People came here from Ukraine without coming on any little boats or from Hong Kong. That's good. Refugees should be able to do that. Let's afford the same treatment to all refugees, wherever they come from. We have a planet on the move. We need policies which are focused not on preventing migration, but on providing strategies for dealing with the inevitable and integrating new arrivals more successfully and humanely. Human beings search for safety. When they're in trouble, they want stability and security. Mass migration is going to be the way forward for humanity in a globally warmer world. In this scenario, human beings will do whatever they have to, as they have done throughout history, to find safety, and that is to move. and most migrants will move to cooler regions. A Philippine theologian, Gemma Tullett, makes a very strong and coherent and cohesive and compassionate case for theological reflection on migration, exploring the positive dimensions of migration and migrants, working from a theology of one bread, one body, one people. She argues for social justice in immigration. What would social justice in immigration look like? What would a migration bill, which I create, look like? I would say, in my view, social justice is about investing in instruments of healing, not hurting, compassion, not cruelty, process to manage, not prevent immigration, broadening the definition of refugee, creating safe passage for people seeking sanctuary and refugees, supporting search and rescue of those in danger, care and speed in asylum decision, ending detention of already hurting people, establishing the rights of asylum seekers to work, and building cultures of welcome, hospitality and sanctuary. It is possible to protect borders and provide humane immigration and asylum policies that are based on justice, mercy and humility. Resettlement schemes can be expanded and enhanced with quality inclusion and integration support of refugees and people seeking sanctuary. And as a member of the United Nations and a signatory of the UN Refugee Convention, the UK should share the responsibility for the protection of refugees globally. You know, every day, many people set out to cross whatever barrier is in their way to find safety and a better life. And when people are deprived of their homes, their families and familiar surroundings, they will be grateful for welcome and hospitality and safety. And we can all be part of a movement to make life better for all people. So what can you do? What can we all do as individuals? Let me then share some concluding words. The poet laureate Andrew Motion's words adorn the side of Sheffield Hallam University. One of the buildings there. The good sighted can read these words of the poem as they walk to the city from the railway station. The words actually read, "O traveller from somewhere to here, to wander through the labyrinth of air, pause now and let the sheer sight of this cliff become a priming place which lift you to speculate, what if there were three things you personally could do? What would they be?" Well, here are my three responses to the what ifs, which capture what I've been saying. Number one, be human and call everyone back to their humanity. Treat everybody as a human being in your everyday dealings. Just show a bit of respect to whoever you're with. Number two, be hospitable and always call others to express hospitality. And number three, always challenge hatred and hostility. And you are doing that when you challenge inhumanity and inhospitality. That for me is the route to building hope and a better future for everyone. I do believe that everyone is capable of doing this. Anywhere in the world, whatever your politics, whatever faith you profess, whether you are a faith-based person or not, everyone, I believe, has the capacity to be human, to be hospitable, to challenge hatred and hostility. And because I believe that, that's what gives me hope. With everything going on in our world at the moment, I stand for this. Human dignity, human rights, and the common good are the core guiding principles. All people made in the image of God, all people are human beings with names and stories and deep relationships. All want empathy more than sympathy, respect more than pity. We have fantastic opportunities in our multi-ethnic, plural societies, as in Leeds, to meet and greet and eat with each other, to share our stories and to discover our interconnectedness and link the local with the global. We belong to each other. Our future is together. We all want the very best for ourselves, and we can work together to ensure the very best for everyone. How we relate to each other, and in particular to people seeking sanctuary and safety, will be central to humanity. How we treat those who are in the greatest need for safety will be the measure by which we shall judge personal, national, and international morality and spirituality. Looking at you, I believe all of you could be doing about 3 other things tonight, but you chose to be here, and I'm honoured by that. Thank you. Looking at you, I believe you will not be found wanting because of all you are and all you do. I can see you are all amazing people in the passion and the commitment that you represent. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for your commitment. And I want to say to you, all the strength of God to you. Thank you, and bless you.